Hey, this is Philip from Manning the Fort. Today I'm going to show you how to replace this with this while spending less money. With the new Crusader Squad rules, a lot of Black Templars players are itching to try them out on the battlefield, but either don't have enough of the new Primaris Neophytes or don't have any, so are stuck proxying scouts or something else. This Kitbash isn't just for Black Templars players, though. An all-Primaris Marine Force looking for some alternative scout models could also be a good fit for what we're going to build. If you are a Black Templars player but didn't buy the army box, just add some assault intercessors and suddenly you have a Crusader squad. Whatever your situation, I think we can all agree that the current scout models are not the answer. Be strong, Clarence. Be strong for the Emperor. So here's what you're going to need. Our main kit for this project is going to be a box of Necromunda Palanite Enforcers. These are still Games Workshop plastic, so 100% tournament legal. They retail for $42 American for a squad of 10. Compare that to $34 for 5 of the old school scouts. Next, we're going to need to go on a bits box raid. The Palanites have a nice look for our neophytes, but the weapons don't quite match the Space Marine look, especially if you want to go with pistols and chainswords, which I do. So we're definitely going to want some Space Marine arms. Which kit they come from isn't super important so long as they have the right weapons. I do think Firstborn Marine arms work better than Primaris due to the size of the guns. If you do happen to have the Black Templar army box, there are a lot of spare arms with the Crusader squad in there that you can use for different weapon loadouts like bolters or shotguns. I also grabbed an assortment of unhelmeted Marine heads because I like that look for the Templars. This time, you can go with Primaris if you want, and if you want helmets, the Palanite ones do look a lot like miniature versions of the Mark X power armor heads, so they work as well. Tempestus Scion heads can also be a good option if you want more of a TAC Ops look. Straight up Space Marine helmets could fit in the socket, but just don't look as good in my opinion. We're also going to need a set of basic kit bashing supplies. We'll need clippers, glue, a good hobby knife, sandpaper, and some files. If you're just getting started, you can get away without the files, but it does make some things faster, and you can order little ones like I use pretty cheaply online. Now, it's time to get to building. Like a lot of the current ranges, the Palanite Enforcers are really only designed to go together one way. We could vary those poses, but that would take a lot more time and effort, and our goal here is to be quick and easy. Before building the bodies of any given scout, you'll need to decide if you're using Palanite heads or Space Marine heads. That's because the collar and neck is a separate piece that sits inside of the two torso pieces. The Space Marine heads don't line up well with it, and without it, your model will look like a turtle hiding in its shell if you use the Palanite heads. Once the torso's glued together, either with or without the neck piece, it's a pain to change it, so decide before you put it together. For this one, we're using a Space Marine head, so we glue the torso halves together without the neck. Then you just line up and glue the legs, which took me an embarrassingly long time. While that's curing up, we can look at the arms. Immediately, we can see we're going to have to do some trimming. Those bulky shoulder attachment points are just not going to fit under that carapace armor. You could clip the carapace armor off at the top and just glue the arm straight on, but I prefer the look my way. So we first get a general idea of how we want the arm to sit in the socket. This is called dry fitting, and something like poster tack can help hold a piece temporarily in place while you're deciding. Once you're happy with the arms you want to use, break out the hobby knife and start trimming. It's generally best to make multiple small cuts than to try to get it all in one go. That does mean some back and forth as you continue to size up the model to see if it'll fit, but you can always trim more off. Adding some back on is possible, but a much more difficult process. Once we have the size about right, we can smooth out the parts that are going to remain visible with sandpaper or files. Once we get the arms how we want, we glue them in, and we have an assembled neophyte/scout. For size comparison, these are a bit shorter than the Primaris Neophytes that come in the Black Templars box. That doesn't bother me that much at tabletop distance, but you can always build up the bases with cork or another material to even that out a bit. There's also a good amount of fairly blank space on this model for adding little bits of flair, decals, or something else. Here are 5 that I built up earlier. That circle in the center is great for a transfer or a shoulder pad icon, like these that I bought from Pop Goes the Monkey. And since they're Black Templar, there's all sorts of religious paraphernalia scattered around. You can also see that I varied up the heads. There are heads from a few different Space Marine kits, like Death Watch and Reavers, and I think even some tactical heads, and I threw in a Tempestus Scion head as well. The paint job is an older iteration of how I'm doing my Black Templars army. At the time of recording, I'm getting footage together for how I like to paint my Black Templars now, both quick and dirty options for the troops and more involved for the characters. Keep an eye on the channel for that soon. Overall, the process to build these guys is under half an hour per model and is one of the easier kit bashes I've done. Once you get good at eyeballing how much you need to trim the shoulder joint, it gets even faster. They're a great option for a Black Templars player on a budget who has some easy-to-build assault intercessors from one of the starter boxes and wants to get Crusaders on the field. Also, the Necromunda range in general has some great options to do experimenting for your own kit bashing. I don't see a lot of 40k players using them, and I think it's a real missed opportunity. If you found some value in this tutorial, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. This is a very new channel, so it helps a lot. While you're working on these, you can check out my playlist of lore videos on the screen. Until next time, happy crusading, and thanks.